The battlefield was loud. Smoke filled the air. Explosions shook the ground. Creatures from a dozen alien worlds screamed and ran, but one man stood still. His name was Jarin. He was human. He wore a torn Space Marine uniform and held a damaged blaster in his hand. His eyes were calm. His face showed no fear. Across from him, a massive alien stepped forward. The ground shook under its feet. It was over 9 feet tall, with red skin, sharp teeth, and glowing eyes. This was Commander Razak, the most feared warlord in the Omega sector. Around them, alien soldiers stopped fighting. They turned to watch. Even Jaren's own team looked worried. This wasn't just a fight. It was a test. Razak roared, loud enough to crack a wall. His voice echoed like thunder. "You are alone," he growled. "Your weapon is broken. Your army is weak. Why don't you run, human?" Jaren looked up, calm as ever. "I don't run," he replied. Razak blinked. For a moment, confusion crossed his face. Then he laughed. A deep, cruel laugh. "I have eaten warriors stronger than you," he said. "My beast drinks fear. Even it will enjoy your screams." Still, Jaren did not move, not a step back. Not a flinch dot from behind Razak. A gate opened. Heavy chains dragged on the floor. A shadow stepped out. It was the beast, a monster bred for war. 8 legs, 3 jaws, skin like stone. Eyes like lava dotted, growled low. Every soldier took a step back. Even the ground seemed to tremble. The monster had destroyed tanks. It had chewed through steel. It had never known fear, except today. The beast took one look at Jaren and stopped. It tilted its head. Its growl faded. It sniffed the air. Its glowing eyes narrowed. Then, something strange happened. It took a step back. Razak snarled, "What are you waiting for? Tear him apart." The monster didn't move. Jaren looked at it, his face calm. Slowly, he took one step forward. The beast backed away again. Now the crowd was silent. Even Razak looked confused. His voice cracked with anger. "You dare hesitate? This is a human. A fragile flesh-covered weakling." But the monster didn't listen. It crouched low, almost afraid. Jaren finally spoke. "Your beast is smart," he said. "It senses what you don't." "And what is that, human?" Razak spat. "That fear," Jaren said, his voice quiet but sharp, "is a two-way mirror. When you stare into it too long, it stares back." No one understood what that meant. Not fully. But something about the way Jaren said it made their hearts beat faster. Razak stepped forward, growling. "You think standing still makes you strong? You're just a man." But Jaren's eyes held no fear, only silence. Heavy, quiet, unsettling. Silence. The beast lowered its head. It whimpered. It turned away from Jaren and back toward the shadows. All around, soldiers whispered. He didn't move. He didn't blink. Even the monster stepped back. Who's this human? What was inside him? Razak growled and raised his claw. "This isn't over, human. I will break you myself." But Jaren didn't respond. He just turned and walked away. He didn't run. He didn't check behind him. He walked like nothing had happened, and no one stopped him. The battlefield stayed silent for a long time. Razak stood frozen, his claws still in the air, his monster gone. His words lost. Everyone felt it now. This wasn't just a human dot, this was something more. And whatever it was, it didn't fear monsters. Asterisk, the great war beast sat in the corner of its steel cage. Trembling. It had never trembled before. This monster had destroyed cities, chewed through alien tanks, and once crushed an armored walker with one bite. It didn't fear anything. Not fire, not pain, not even death. But now something was wrong. Commander Razak stood outside the cage, his fists clenched. The monster had returned from the field, but not as a victor. It had come back shaking like it had seen a ghost. No wounds, no poison, no mind control. Just fear. Rizik slammed his fist against the wall. "Why did you stop?" he shouted at the beast. "Why didn't you eat him?" The monster growled softly, but not at Rizik. It was afraid even now. Its giant eyes stared at the wall, not in anger, but in memory. It remembered the human, the way he stood, the stillness, the silence. The monster had seen thousands of warriors. Some screamed, some ran, some even attacked it with brave hearts. But none of them had felt like this one. There was something around the human. A pressure, not seen, but felt deep in the chest. Like a dark wave ready to crush. When it had stepped close to Jaren, it smelled something old, something cold. A scent it didn't have a name for, but every cell in its body remembered. It was the smell of death. Not dying, not pain. Pure death, not normal death. Something older, something before death. Raga stepped closer to the cage. His voice was low now. "You've killed 100 creatures. You were born to destroy. What stopped you?" The beast didn't answer, of course. But in its mind, it saw Jaren's eyes again. Not glowing, not sharp. Just calm. Too calm. That stillness wasn't normal. It wasn't bravery. It was something worse. As if the human wasn't afraid of being killed, because he had already walked beyond that point. As if he had seen something, felt something, become something. The warlord growled and turned to his science officer, a thin alien named Lizik. "Scan the human. I want everything. Species report, neural structure, past battle records. Check for psychic interference, ancient tech, hidden weapons. I want to know why." Lizik bowed and hurried away. Inside the cage, the beast let out a long breath. Its body still shook. The lights in the chamber flickered. And deep inside the monster's ancient brain, a thought formed. Not a word, but a warning. That human is not prey. That human is something else. Meanwhile, far away, Jaren sat in a quiet corner of the ruined battlefield. He didn't speak. He didn't move. His eyes were half closed. He remembered the beast too. He had felt its fear. Not just seen it, but truly felt it. Through the strange gift buried deep inside him. The gift he never asked for. The gift that now scared even monsters. His fingers twitched as a wind passed over the field. Cold, dry, unnatural. And then a whisper. No sound. Just the feeling of one dot from somewhere deep inside. It came again. Soon they will all know. Jaren opened his eyes slowly. Whatever was inside him wasn't done yet, and the galaxy was not ready. Commander Rizik couldn't sleep. The image of the human's calm face haunted his mind. He had faced death many times, smelled burning planets, watched enemies scream. But now, one memory refused to fade. The human who didn't flinch. The monster who trembled. The silence that made the air feel thick. Rizik stood in the dark, staring at a screen full of data. Files, videos, reports, all focused on one man. Jaren Kor, Earthborn soldier. Rank, unknown. Combat history, redacted. Psychological profile, unreadable. Every report ended the same way. Emotionless under stress. No signs of fear. Survived events others called impossible. This is nonsense, Arzasa. He's a human, weak flesh. Short life, limited mind. But still, the facts kept stacking against his belief. One battle report said Jaren stood untouched in the middle of a plasma storm. Another described how an entire insectoid hive turned on itself after Jaren entered their chamber. There were whispers of a forbidden ruin he once walked out of alone when no one else came back. Rizik gritted his teeth. Was it tech? Mutation? Or something darker? Down in the lab, Lizik, the science officer, Studied a strange signal one hidden in the heartbeat recordings of the beast after it faced. Jaren. It wasn't just fear, that it was recognition, that the beast had known that. Feeling, long ago. Passed through its blood from ancestors that roamed the stars before history began. A fear written into instinct. A memory beyond memory. Something ancient had touched Jaren. And now it walked with him. Rega called a private. Meeting with the seer, a blind alien prophet kept hidden beneath the warship's core. The seer rarely spoke. But when Arizek told her about the human, her body trembled. "You brought death into your circle," she whispered, voice like sand. "And it looked at you." "I brought a human," Razan snapped. "No," the seer said, shaking her head slowly. "You brought the echoed one, the one who walked where no being should walk." "What does that mean?" The seer lifted a hand and pointed to the stars above. "Some say time is a river. Others say it's a cage. But there are doors, old doors, scattered through the stars. Most stay shut." One opened, and something stepped out. She leaned closer, though she could not see. It followed the human. Back, Razak froze. What followed him? He asked. The seer only whispered one word. Dark. Back on the surface, Jaren walked through the ruins alone. He didn't need orders. He didn't need rest. Every step he took, the shadows felt heavier. Every place he visited, the air grew still. Creatures stopped moving. Insects vanished. Small animals ran. He paused near an ancient crater, one he had seen only once before. There, years ago, he had found it. The whisper, the gift, the curse. He didn't know what to call it. But after that day, nothing scared him. Not because he became strong, but because he became empty inside. He looked up at the stars. He could feel something coming, and he knew the war wasn't just between armies anymore. It was something deeper, something that didn't fight with weapons, but with fear itself. Back on the ship, Rizak stared at his own reflection. He punched the wall, cracking the steel. "Why didn't you flinch, human?" He growled to himself. But deep inside, even he didn't want to hear the answer, because he already knew. The human had become something fear itself refused to touch. The warship drifted silently above a dying moon. No lights blinked inside the command bridge. Power was still on. Systems were still running. But the crew had gone silent. Something had entered the ship, and no one knew what. Commander Argyuk moved through the halls, his armored feet making sharp clicks on the floor. But even that sound felt too loud now. The air felt thick. Every breath felt like swallowing dust. The lights flickered. He passed soldiers frozen in place, strong warriors standing still like statues, eyes wide, hands trembling. "What are you doing?" Rizak barked. No one answered. They were listening, not to him, to something else, something invisible. A whisper. Soft, cold, ancient. It crawled along the walls, slipped through vents, and touched the back of every neck. No words could be heard, only a feeling. Something was moving through the ship, and it had no footsteps. In the lab, Lizik stared at his scanner. The readings were impossible. A new energy was moving between the systems, not electricity, not data, a presence. It had no heat, no signal trail. It was like shadow in motion. Lizik reached for the emergency intercom before he could touch it. The lights died. The whisper returned, inside his mind. A soft breath, a voice without shape. He opened the door. Lizik screamed, but the sound didn't leave his lips. Far below the ship, on the cold surface of the moon, Jaren stood alone. He had returned to the place he once found the gate. The old black stone still stood, half buried, cracked by time. Symbols on its surface still pulsed with faint light. Not technology, not magic, something beyond both. Jaren touched it again, and the darkness welcomed him back. He didn't speak. He didn't smile. He only listened. The whisper came again, but Not outside, inside, double quotes. They watch you now. They follow your fearless steps, but fear does not vanish. It only finds new flesh. Jaren didn't flinch, even though his shadow moved on its own. Back on the ship, chaos broke loose. The beast, the monster that once feared nothing, began screaming in its cage. It smashed itself against the walls, over and over, its eyes wide. With horror, not an enemy it could see, but something. Remembered. The guards tried to stop it. Too late. The beast broke free, but it didn't run wild. It ran. Away. Far from the human. Far from the whisper. Far from whatever was coming. Commander. Rizak watched the monster disappear into the cargo bay and vanish into an escape pod. He didn't stop it. He couldn't. He was too busy trying to hold his own. Breath steady. The seer appeared behind him again. He didn't call her. She just arrived. Her blind eyes looked right into his fear. You heard it, didn't you? She whispered. Rizak nodded slowly. I heard it, he admitted. It doesn't speak, but it still says everything. The seer touched his arm. You still think it's the human who is dangerous? Rizak didn't answer, because now he wasn't sure. On the moon, Jaren stepped back from the black stone. His eyes were darker now, not evil, just deeper. He turned and walked away without looking back. The whisper followed, but it didn't control him. It followed because he allowed it to. And somewhere in the shadows, across the stars, something old and forgotten smiled. Because now its voice had vessel, and that vessel wore human skin. The grand arena of Dakar wasn't a place for speeches. It was built for blood. High walls of black steel. A sandpit soaked in the memory of fallen warriors. Rows of alien spectators filled the shadows, claws, horns, and eyes shining with hunger. But today, the arena felt different. It was too quiet. Everyone had gathered for a single reason. To see two armies fight. Not to see beasts battle. But to watch one human face something worse. Jaren Kor stood alone in the center of the pit. His armor was dusty. His hands were empty. His face was still. Above him, in the judge's box, Commander Arzik leaned forward. Let all races witness, he announced. Let every creature watch. This human, who walks without fear, will now meet the one thing no being escapes, the eyes of the deep caller. The crowd didn't cheer, not yet. Many didn't even blink, because they had heard rumors, whispers, about a human who didn't flinch. And a beast who ran. In a ship filled with silence. They had come to see if it was true. Chains rattled. A door creaked open. Out came the deep caller. It didn't walk. It floated. Its form was wrapped in shadows, long and thin like forgotten roots. Its face had no mouth, only eyes. Too many eyes. Some big, some small, some blinking sideways. All staring. It was not born. It was summoned. And when its eyes opened, warriors forgot how to move. Many went mad just looking at it. It was said the deep caller didn't kill with claws. It reached inside and showed you what you feared most. Not just showed it, made you live it. The deep caller stopped 10 feet from Jaren. Its eyes locked onto him, and still. He didn't flinch. The arena held its breath. One of the alien generals whispered, He's not even breathing fast. Another growled, He should be on his knees by now. No one survives this gaze. But Jaren just stood there. Still as a shadow, the deep caller tilted its head, and then slowly, all its eyes opened at once. A shockwave passed through the air. Spectators gasped. Some fainted. One warrior screamed and ran from the stands, but Jaren stood and smiled. Suddenly, the deep caller twitched. Not forward, backward. Its eyes blinked fast, confused. Something was wrong. Jaren stepped closer. No weapon. No shout, just presence. And in that moment, every eye on the creature's face reflected the same thing. Not Jaren, but what was behind him. A shape not seen but felt. A black mist that moved like memory. A shadow that didn't belong to light. The whisper returned, not in the ears, in the soul. Even your eyes will close, old one. The deep caller made a sound for the first time, like stone crying underwater. It turned, fled. Yes, fled. Vanished into the wall of the arena like smoke in the wind. The crowd was dead silent. Jaren looked up at our single quotes ZAKK. No words, just a stare. And for the first time since he became warlord, Rizek felt his legs go weak. Not from defeat, but from the truth. He didn't call a human into the arena. He called something else. Something that monsters obeyed. And fear could not touch. Long after the arena of Gikar went quiet, the galaxy began to dream, but not peaceful dreams. Nightmares. It started small. Pilot from the stand saw Jaren's stare. He couldn't sleep after. He screamed at night, saying there was something behind him, and it smiled with no face. A general who once led the burning of 3 moons stopped speaking completely. He sat in a dark room, whispering. It looked at me through the human's eyes. Entire ships went missing near sectors where Jaren had once walked. No wreckage. No distress calls. Just silence. And whispers. On the high-throne world of Zul-Kareth, the galaxy's oldest race met in secret. These beings had lived through wars, through black holes, through time storms. They feared nothing. Until now. A name kept returning in scattered reports. Jren core. A human. But not really. They showed a grainy image. Jaren standing in the arena, hands behind his back, as the deep caller fled from him. One elder shook his head. No. Human has that power. Something rides with him. Something that does not belong to light. Another said, he opened a gate. A third whispered, he is the gate. Far away, Rizak sat alone in his war chamber. His fists were clenched. He hadn't slept since the arena. The whispers had followed him through the walls, through his mind, through his dreams. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the same thing. A hallway with no end. And Jaren standing in it. Waiting. Walking. Just waiting. Rizak slammed his fist into the wall. I am a warlord. I fear no man. But the room didn't respond. It only grew colder. Jaren, meanwhile, walked across a dead starfield. No ship. No food. No direction. Yet he never got lost. He moved like the stars remembered his steps. And every time he entered a new world, the shadows grew heavier. The wind stopped. Children cried without reason. Animals sensed him from miles away and vanished underground. Jaren never harmed anyone. He just walked. And whatever walked beside him watched. On the moon of Draxus 4, a scholar uncovered a scroll older than recorded time. It spoke of a traveler, a human shape, but no soul. A being whose fear was eaten long ago, and in that hollow space, something else made a home. The scroll warned, do not stare too long at the hollow man, for through his eyes, another stares back, and that gaze is not from this world. Back on his ship, Rizek received a new message. It was from his science officer, Lizik, but it wasn't a voice message. It was just a sound file. One sound. Heartbeat. But not human. Too slow. Too heavy. Too loud. The file ended with static. And one word spoken in a dry whisper. Behind. Rizak turned fast. No one was there. But he knew. Something had been. He sat down. Shaking. Breathing hard. For the first time in his life, Commander Rizak, the conqueror of worlds, the breaker of walls, put his face in his hands and whispered, why didn't you flinch, human? But deep inside, he already knew the answer, because Jaren had nothing left inside to fear, and whatever filled that empty space, it was now looking out. Legends once told of monsters in the dark. Now they spoke of a man who walked darker. His name drifted across the stars. Jaren core, the fearless human. But to many, it was no longer just a name. It was a warning. Entire fleets changed course when They detected even a whisper of his path. Prison worlds sealed their gates, fearing he might pass through. On trade stations, children were told bedtime stories. Be kind. Be calm, or the human who makes monsters run will find you. But Jaren didn't threaten. He didn't chase. He didn't speak. He simply walked. And the stars watched. On the burning plains of Valara, a god beast rose from the soil giant, ancient and full of rage. It roared, split the sky in two, and turned rivers into steam. Jaren stood before it, no weapon in hand. He whispered something no one else could hear. The beast stopped, its head lowered, and it wept. Before vanishing into ash, in the ice caverns of Corkwood, high priests once carved fear into stone symbols older than thought. They believed they controlled terror, until Jaren stepped into their temple. Their stones cracked, the carvings burned, and every priest collapsed, screaming, not from pain, but from truth. They had spent lifetimes trying to control fear, but now, fear had found its own master, back on his warship, old and tired. Commander Jock stared out a window into deep space. He hadn't seen Jaren in many cycles, but he still dreamed of him, still felt him, and not just in fear, in awe. He whispered to the stars, "Are you even human anymore?" No answer came, but his heart already knew. Jaren had crossed a line that couldn't be walked back. He had given something away, and in return, something ancient walked beside him, now not controlling him, but echoing him, like a shadow that thinks, like silence that remembers. On a distant planet, Jaren stopped beneath a quiet sky. A child stood there, holding a stick, pretending to be a soldier. The child looked up, no fear, just curiosity. Jaren looked down at him, and for the first time in years, he smiled. The shadow around him paused, softened, and for a moment, the stars above shined a little brighter. Maybe he wasn't lost completely. Maybe, just maybe, the man inside the monster still lived. And so the legend grew, of a man who didn't flinch when gods screamed, who made monsters weep, who walked through fear like it was dust, and who reminded the stars of their oldest truth, that fear is not strongest when it shouts, but when it's quiet, still, watching, just like the human who taught it how.